Morning, everyone, to Morning Coffee. My name's Mitch Jackson. Carolyn Elefant is my guest today. We'll be talking artificial intelligence, the law, legal tech, and a little bit of everything in between. How are you this morning?
I'm good. I've got my coffee also, even though it's later here.
Let's do a virtual toast. There you go. I can't start my day like without coffee. If I was stranded on a desert island, I think it would be coffee and bananas, and I would be just fine. I would be just fine. Between the two, those are my food groups right there. But this is going to be fun. And thanks for joining me. Morning coffee, everybody. Biz, law, AI, Web3, a little bit of metaverse, virtual reality kicked in, but it's my excuse to have my first cup of coffee in the morning and chat with really amazing people from around the world. And Carolyn's one of those amazing people. Let me give you a proper intro, or at least the short version. Because you've done so much in the legal industry, in your legal career. But what's always amazed me about you, Carolyn, is that you've always been a pioneer and an advocate, not only for energy and the environment, but environmental justice. And you've taken that legal expertise and the ability to focus, and you've turned it around to helping lawyers really kind of figure out where they fit in our legal system. You're helping lawyers and encouraging lawyers, or have in the past, and I am one of those lawyers, to go out on your own, right? To hang up your own shingle, to do your own thing. You're teaching lawyers how to innovate, how to run and manage and market and brand and build a successful solo practice. You're all in when it comes to AI, which is why you're here today. You get it, I get it, and we're just shouting from the rooftops on, all of the benefits and advantages that AI is going to be offering and is offering the legal profession. You're the author of a book, Solo by Choice, which was a bestseller. And, for all those reasons, I've got you here today, and I'm not going to let you get away until we talk AI. So I want to encourage everyone, share this out. If you have questions, ask your questions. Depending on which platform you're on, it'll bring it into my administrative board, and I'll ask Carolyn, your questions for you. Carolyn, let's start off with artificial intelligence. When did this new technology first appear on your radar, where it's like, okay, I've heard about this, but now I see how it works with the legal profession? And why did you dive in head first into the AI digital swimming pool, shall we say?
So I've known about AI for a really, really, really long time. My late husband studied artificial intelligence in the mid 1980s. So he was really a pioneer in the early space. He looked at machine learning and natural language, which are sort of earlier iterations of AI. But it was never something that was commercialized during that time. So like most people, I kind of track where it was heading, but it was about 2 years ago almost that we're going to celebrate the second anniversary of the launch of ChatGPT. And that's really when it kind of clicked that this is something that could be really disruptive for legal, just because it was so easy to use. It was addictive. It had fun applications. So that's kind of like an easy entryway into playing with the technologies when there's fun things you can do with it. And then you start looking at the more serious things that it could do. And I guess the other way I had looked at AI is I had done some early demos of Case Text Co-Counsel. And so I had seen a demo of it probably like 6 or 7 months before ChatGPT launched. And I could just tell it was game changing. They showed me how it could summarize depositions. They showed me the types of legal memos that it could write. And I just knew there was going to be something for everybody in this technology.
It's crazy. And by the way, I saw a photo that you posted, I think it was yesterday, of your late husband. And I just enjoyed your post, and our thoughts go out to you. It's interesting. It's important. It's a good reminder to really kind of wrap our arms around, the moment and what matters in our lives, right? And before we went live, I actually had my Meta AI Ray-Ban sunglasses on, and Carolyn and I were trying to talk to it in real time through this video program. And I think we figured out a way to do that. So for the lawyers out there who haven't used AI, especially the audio version where you can talk to it in real time, I'm going to put something together. Carolyn, you're obviously more than welcome to join me so that you can try AI for the first time. So lawyers using AI, I know you speak around the country on this topic. You advise lawyers what they need to pay attention to, how can they leverage AI, but also some things that they should do their due diligence on. Hey, be careful, right? And you recently wrote an article that talked about, you know what? Let me use technology and share it on the screen. Hang on a second.
Okay.
Cool. Let's see if this works.
All
Let me see. Window.
real time.
Yeah. You know what? Darn it. I can't get it up. My bad. But what I was going to say is you wrote an article about 10 different ways I think lawyers can use AI to help start their law firm.
Right.
Right. And talk to me a little bit about that. How can lawyers leverage AI to build out their practices and do the things that used to cost us tens of thousands of dollars a year to do that maybe we can do now for just a couple of pennies, a couple of dollars out of pocket each month?
Yeah, so it's amazing. I mean, AI can I look at AI's benefits as twofold. It can kind of do things that used to cost us money, and it can do things that we never would have thought to do because they were so out of the price range. For example, if you were starting a law firm back in the dark ages when I did, you would never hire a branding expert or somebody to name your law firm. It was just inconceivable that you would do that. But you can use generative AI to help you come up with trade names for your law practice. And trade names are also something that are now ethically permitted in all 50 jurisdictions. And so if you were starting a firm today, you might decide to use the trade name, and you can ask ChatGPT or any of the consumer-facing types of AI technologies to come up with a trade name. You can ask it to come up with a logo. And again, it's not necessarily going to be a logo that you're going to use forever. And here's the example of the logo that it generated. Okay, it's not the most exciting logo, but you can use it as a placeholder. You can use it to kind of inspire yourself to see what your firm may be like. And you can use it as something that you can take to a designer, when you start making money, and ask them to work off of that or modify it to turn it into a more powerful brand logo.
But who has the graphic skills to do a logo? I certainly don't. Maybe you should explain how this logo was created. It's pretty easy, isn't it?
Yeah. So ChatGPT has an image creator, and there are other image creators too, but it used to be DALL-E. It was a separate platform. Now it's all kind of integrated with ChatGPT. And so you can just go to ChatGPT and say, draw me an image or create an image or create a logo, and give it some specs for what you want it to do. So for this particular logo, it was for a firm that did criminal and immigration work, I think. It fought for justice and defended people's rights. And I asked for bold colors like reds and purples, and this is what it generated. And you can ask it to do you can also ask for other iterations too. I didn't really do that for this particular post.
Sure. And I'm just going through your article because there are a lot of different details here, from creating operating agreements to doing a lot of other things that you share so openly on My Shingle. So thanks for doing that.
Yeah, the last one is actually one that I really love. I don't know if any of the users out here have been playing around with Google Notebook, Google's Notebook LM. But one of the things that it has the capability to do is if you upload a document, it can generate a podcast based on what that document is. So I thought, okay, let me upload my resume and see what the podcast is. It is amazing. If you want to feel good about yourself,
I know.
You upload your resume and you've got two people talking about yourself for 15 minutes straight. And if you're starting a firm, that could be a cool thing to send out, with the announcement that you send out. It would just make you stand out. I love listening to these things. I mean, I listen to podcasts from time to time, but this is a great way to ingest written content in an efficient way because you can listen to it while you're driving or exercising. And it's amazing.
It really is. And it's funny how many hoops we had to jump through back in the day to do all the things that we're doing now with a voice command, with a text command, right? John Messing out of Arizona, I was born and raised in Tucson. So, hey, John, good morning. Talks about using these third-party services back in the day, to build our logos. And now with, a voice command, or like you said, tapping into something like Notebook LM, it's amazing for lawyers wanting to repurpose content, old blog posts, old stories, breaking news stories. Maybe share a way how they can use Notebook LM to do just that, right? Because what you just described allows you to repurpose old content quickly, easily, and really effectively.
Right. Another way people are using Google Notebook LM is they're setting up folders for clients. So they're updating complicated documents that maybe describe a court process and asking it to create a checklist. And then clients can access both the underlying source material and also the checklist that's generated by AI, and it'll generate frequently asked questions. Again, these are ways of producing content from maybe a larger piece of information that you've produced. So
lots of options. So play around in these sandboxes. Carolyn, I am actually speaking on behalf of John's request to the Arizona State Bar on some AI things. Someone saw me speaking back in Chicago at the American Bar Association President's Meeting, and they're sharing that book that I did, AI and Law, right? And what we're doing is we're taking each chapter of the book and we're putting into the platform you just described, and we're having the AI summarize and discuss each chapter individually, which then is a private podcast to a client or a public. There's just so much going on. So my next question is, how in the world do you pay attention to everything that's going on in this space? It seems like things are changing quickly. How can lawyers stay on top of things without getting themselves in trouble?
Yeah, no, it is really difficult to stay up to date because things are always changing. I mean, I suggest following people like you who curate a lot of good information.
Following you.
So following people who are good curators of information. Nikki Black is also great. She always does great roundups on this. So that's kind of the quickest way to stay up to date. And then just continually using the products because they change so much, and you could use them initially and think this didn't give me great output, this really isn't worth using, but you could go back to it 2 months later and it's going to give you a better result. So you can't get too impatient, and you have to just keep experimenting and playing with these different tools because they change so fast.
When we talk about these different tools, we're talking about tools where you might type something into, for those of you that you haven't used AI, a Google search bar. You're typing in a question or a command, or maybe you're using your microphone in your phone to give an audio command or prompt, I guess is the appropriate terminology. Or sometimes we're now dragging in a document or a picture, an image, and saying, tell us what I just attached to this prompt. Explain it to me like you're a seasoned lawyer. Break it down into 10 steps. So can you talk to us a little bit about, for lawyers that aren't that familiar with AI, the different ways they can interact with AI, and then once they get that initial response, you and I know it as reprompting, but basically doing a deep dive to make sure that what they're trying to accomplish is being achieved, and it also happens to be accurate, because I think this is a big area where lawyers are dropping the ball.
Yeah, so I just used AI yesterday. I used Claude to generate a quick motion that I needed, and it did hallucinate a case for me. And I tried searching the case name on Lexis, and I tried searching the citation for it. I couldn't even find a case of the same name or a site of the same name. So it still is making those mistakes. And by now, that should be the most immediate red flag, is that anytime it generates a citation, whether it's to a statute or to a case, it's something that you want to check. It's not even worth reprompting on something like that, because it's just gonna drill down and double down and just give you the wrong information twice. But other than that, and so I think it's helpful to kind of understand the places where it can go awry. Another place where I found it to be somewhat inaccurate is when I'm asking it to summarize contract terms. Sometimes it'll conflate information. So if a contract has like a clause that says the owner can do X or Y, the summary might say the owner can do X, or the owner can do X and Y instead of X or Y. And so those kind of words make a difference. And so now I know when I use it to summarize contracts, I know what to look for. So that's kind of another soft spot that it has. But outside of those two acute flaws, like you said, reprompting it, asking follow-up questions, asking it to confirm things, or asking if it's made if it thinks it's made a mistake, those are just different follow-ups that you can ask it to do to get a better result. Ask it to expand on things, ask it to make something more concise. Just like you would with giving feedback to an associate. I mean, a lot of people compare using ChatGPT or Claude to working with an associate, and the kind of feedback you would give to an associate, you just give to the machine. So
Do you want to, before we went live, we played around with ChatGPT, the audio. Do you want to just give
Yes.
everybody a 30-second demo on
Yeah.
how, because John Messing asked, and I'll put it up on the screen, do you find that audio is better than text for being efficient with AI? Okay, I practice in California, not in Arizona, born and raised in Arizona, but I haven't looked at Arizona law in a long, long time. Watch how this does. I've got ChatGPT on my phone, and Carolyn, I'm going to have you comment on this in a second. I'm going to bring it up and I'm going to ask it. You are an experienced Arizona personal injury lawyer. You have a new dog bite case. You are going to tell me what is the major dog bite statute in the state of California on a civil case?
In California, the major dog bite statute is Civil Code Section 3342. This law.
So I meant in Arizona.
Got it. In Arizona, the primary dog bite statute is Arizona Revised Statutes, Section 11-1025. It holds dog owners liable.
Is there a related jury instruction I can use in an Arizona civil case?
Yes, in Arizona civil cases, jury instructions for dog bite cases can be found in the Revised Arizona Jury Instructions RAJI. Specifically, you can refer to RAJI CIV Personal Injury 12, which covers...
Thank you. That shows me what you can do. Thank you. I always like to be polite to AI in case someday AI takes over the world and I was the nice guy and they don't come and hunt me down. That's how fast and easy AI is and voice commands are. Of course, Carolyn, to your point, you would want to double check and do your due process on anything it tells you, correct?
Yeah. The other thing I found voice really useful for is for example, preparing for a moot court or an oral argument. You can upload the briefs to ChatGPT and then instruct it to act as the panel and ask you questions based on the brief, and then ask it to give you feedback on your responses. And so I think you can use it for that, or for simulating negotiations or mediations. I mean, it really is like talking to a real person.
It's like having an argument and hearing opposing counsel's, side or version of that issue, and then working on it and developing it before you ever step into the courtroom, before you step into that deposition room, before you step into a meeting. And just real quick, John Lindsay, hey, John, it's good to see you. Tell Rob I've got his hat on. A Legally Speaking podcast, everybody. We're all fans of Rob's. But John talks about hallucinations and some of the other advantages, like what Carolyn just mentioned, using it to develop open-ended questions, using it to problem solve and argue issues on both sides of the coin. Have you had a chance, Carolyn, to use the Google AI tools where you can upload audio and video and have it analyze your presentation? Have you tried that yet?
No, I have that on my checklist to do.
Will you write about it once you check it out?
Okay, so this is a which Google tool is it?
It's called Google AI tools, and you upload your audio or video. You record yourself, right? 5 or 10 minutes, right. 3 to 5 minutes, and then you ask it a prompt. Share with me how effective I am with my, audio presentation, with my visuals, with my hands, with my voice, with my message, with the clarity of my communication. And it's almost like a presentation coach where it then, depending on your prompt, breaks down your podcast audio or your video while you're practicing your opening statement and tells you what you do well and what you don't do so well and how you can improve it. And it's amazing. We're using it and I'm loving it. And I don't always like the feedback that it gives me. Mitch, your content's great, but that delivery was a little slow. You need to spice it up a bit. You need to keep the attention of the audience. And that's what we need to hear as lawyers, right? We need constructive, positive feedback so that we can communicate better. And I think AI allows us to do that. What are some of your favorite platforms that you're using on a daily basis, if you don't mind me asking? How are you leveraging AI right now to be better and faster?
Yeah, so one of the ways that I'm using it is really to kind of help develop quick briefs and motions, and have it sort of write first drafts. I like Claude AI for that, or I like Claude for that. I think it does a better job of writing than ChatGPT. I'm
Now, why is that? Why is that?
I just feel like the writing style is a little bit more professional, and I usually seem to get a better output. Sometimes ChatGPT can be a little bit flowery, I guess, or just if I want something more creative, like a marketing idea or brainstorming titles for blog posts or things like that, that's what I would use ChatGPT for. Like I said, I use it for the moot courts. I use it for responding to emails or when I send things out for my blog, putting together the emails that go out or to promote podcasts. I use it for promotional materials. So it's just become very seamless. I use it for case summaries a lot and to kind of digest a case. So I'll ask it to give me a summary with citations to the different pages it's talking about. So it kind of helps speed up the way that I read cases and lets me ingest more content too.
Can I ask you a question? Because I'm getting a couple of questions in, and I think we're both assuming some things that maybe some new users aren't aware of. Let's say you've got a law review article or a 10-page document that you want summarized using AI. Can you kind of walk us through the process on how you can take a 10-page document, and maybe it's not even a legal document, but use AI, whether it's Claude or ChatGPT, to summarize that document? How does that work? Do you have to dictate every word into it? Do you have to type every other word? Or how do you do that?
Okay, so the first thing that I'd suggest is to have at least one paid version of one of these platforms, because I don't know, the versions I have of the platforms I use are all paid. They're just like $20 a month. I don't know what kinds of limitations or restrictions apply if you're using a free version. But essentially, when you go to the platform, if it's either Perplexity, ChatGPT, Claude, I don't use Copilot actually, so I can't really speak to that one. But what you can do is you can upload the document, and then it's really going to depend on your preference in terms of what kind of prompt you want to give it. I usually start off with I'm usually lazy and impatient, so I usually give it short prompts. And I might if I just want a summary, I might just say, provide a detailed summary of this document, or I might tell it to provide a summary and focus on issues related to discrimination in employment cases, or have it focus on a specific topic. And then when it comes back with the summary, if it's something that, if I want something longer or something more extensive, I would ask it for that. If I'm asking it to summarize a case, I would upload the case and maybe ask it to summarize the holding, the majority, and the dissent, and then to compare the two opposing views. So also depending on the type of summary I need, that's how I would do it. And I would usually ask it for bullet points rather than, I don't want to get back just a paragraph, which is kind of more like an abstract of the law review article. I'd ask it for bullet points or numbered paragraphs, or you can ask it to put the stuff in tables. I mean, that's one of the things, tools that I like the best, is just the different ways that it'll format the responses, which are usually, something that can make reading through information much easier, but it's such a pain in the neck when you have to do it yourself. Like, who wants to create a table or an Excel spreadsheet for something?
I think one of the reasons this technology knocks my socks off is I'm old enough where when I was given a task to review an 80-page, Supreme Court decision, I had to get in the car, drive 35 minutes across town to the law library, find the case, which was a challenge in of itself. Okay, that took 45 minutes, and then sit down, and then it'd take another 3 days to analyze the case and do my little thing, take it back to word processing, they type it up, and then I'd give it to the lawyer. This is back when I was a paralegal. What you just described is literally a 15 to 30 second exercise once you get this down.
Right.
You attach the PDF of the case, or you copy and paste it, summarize this case, break it down with headings and subheadings, give me arguments on both sides. I have a similar case in Orange County, California. My justices are very conservative. They've ruled 3 times in this way on this one issue. How will that affect my argument if I bring this same type of case in front of this particular appellate panel? And it'll break this stuff down like that. Like, we can all do this if you've got a week of spare time to do this. So for me, that's kind of like what you just described is what's really impressing me with this technology. Are there some ways that you're using AI, or you'd like to see lawyers use AI, that many of us haven't really thought about, or you haven't read much about, but you'd like to see lawyers using it like in a different way? What are some unique ways that we can use AI moving forward?
So, I mean, one of the ways I've been using it when I'm preparing research or motions is I will, like, if I have to prepare a reply brief, I'll feed it the brief that was filed by the plaintiff and by the defendant. And then I'll say, you're the judge, write a decision that reflects how you're going to rule. And it's a really good way to test the strength of your argument, because if the decision comes out against you, you know that you've got to really bulk up that reply brief that you have, and it comes out in your favor. You know, you might try formulate your reply brief differently. So that's like, and plus it's just always useful to see what the judicial decision might look like in a case, because you want to write your brief in a way that it makes it easy for a judge to adopt. So that's kind of a tool, that a way of using it, that it's like a task that really you didn't have the ability to use to address or to do that way before. The other thing I like using it for, that I find it useful for, is just sort of mental health kinds of things. Like if there's a nasty letter from opposing counsel, which, you know, back in the day you would just say, I don't want to deal with this, and you just wouldn't respond for a few days. Now you just ask.
Oh, is that the way you handled it?
Yeah, or else you kind of, you would go, right.
When I was young and foolish, I'd go like this and waste days of my time. But then I got smart and realized.
Yeah, or else say things that you regret. So I'll just ask it to respond with toxic positivity to the aggressive.
Is that what you do? Do you?
If it's a really aggressive motion or a really aggressive email.
And does that work for you?
It does. It really annoys the other side. They don't know how to respond. So I don't have that many contentious cases, though.
No, you know what? I don't either. It's interesting. The longer we practice, the more we realize not to get sucked into those little side battles. It's a complete waste of time and energy. And I've got a bunch of questions, but I want to respect your time. Let me just, okay, John asked, this is good because it has to do with follow-up prompts, okay? If in the example you gave, Carolyn, where you're, putting in both sides of the argument and the AI, rules against you, what type of prompts? Maybe give some examples, some oral examples of how you would fine tune your argument to gain strength, so that next week when you walk into court or hop on that Zoom law in motion, you have a better chance of prevailing.
Yeah, I think you can ask the prompt kind of the way this question was asked. You can say, I represent the plaintiff. The decision you just issued ruled against us. What are some of the factors that you relied on in reaching that ruling? What are some of the factors that we can play up to increase the odds of a ruling in our favor? Those types of questions like that. Mm-hmm. Just kind of what you would ask, or the kinds of things you would, discuss, chat about back and forth with colleagues. So, and then see what it comes up with and continue to refine your inquiries if you need to.
Perfect. When I'm mediating Zoom cases, we'll do breakout rooms and we reach an impasse, if you don't mind me sharing this, and I'll say, let's grab a cup of coffee, use the bathroom, we'll bounce out. I'll go to another tab and I've got prompts set up, and I'll ask the AI, a special, API, security protected AI. We're at an impasse on this issue. Give me 5 or 10 open-ended questions to get the parties moving past this impasse. Maybe some unique perspectives, some unique ideas to taking things to the next level for settlement purposes we haven't thought about, whatever it may be. And inevitably, it gives me something new to go back in and reopen the conversation. With what you just shared, you could also prompt the AI, give me a unique argument that hasn't been thought about before, or most lawyers don't think about, to keep, to give me more ammunition to persuade the judge to rule in my favor. I mean, there's just all kinds of prompts, right? You don't have to die on the sword, but you can have fun with your prompting to spark new ideas in your mind, so that when it's all said and done, your client's smiling at the end of the case. And I'm going to say, from the responses the comments I'm getting, Carolyn, everyone's smiling with having you on today's show. Really appreciate your time and having you here. if anyone would like to reach out to you, I know you're available on LinkedIn, which is where you and I communicate quite often. And I put Carolyn's LinkedIn URL up on the screen for those of you just listening, but also you're over on MyShingle. What is MyShingle.com?
MyShingle.com is the longest running blog on solo and small firm practice. It launched in December of 2002. So it's going to be 22
Really?
years old next month.
Wow.
Wow.
And what's the content there? What are you doing there?
So basically it's got articles about how to start. It has articles and webinars about how to start a practice, ethics issues that solo and small firms have to think about. Now it has a lot of resources on AI and how AI can help solo and small firm practitioners. It's got profiles of solos and small firm lawyers, of women lawyers who have started firms. It just really has a whole collection of resources that date back for a long time.
So if anyone here would like more Carolyn in their lives, go to myshingle.com, and enjoy the content. Top-notch writer, top-notch legal AI leader. And when it comes to building out your firm, your small firm, she's your go-to. I'm getting all choked up just thinking about this. So no, I think I'm fine now. But listen, this was fantastic. Thanks everybody for joining us. And we're going to be dark next week during the Thanksgiving week. I believe I might have one show on with Kreema Gullick. I don't know if you know Kreema, who's just a really amazing IP lawyer. But what people don't know about Kreema, and we go way back, she's also an aeronautical engineer. She's also a private pilot. She happens to be an IP lawyer, right? I mean, boom. I'm just so impressed with all that she and people like you are doing. So this has been fun. Those of you stay connected with Caroline, and between now and next time, enjoy this AI journey and never stop making each day your masterpiece. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.